All right, so this one, and I don't actually, this name sounds so familiar to me, but I don't know if we actually covered this or not. But in Catlettsburg, Kentucky, 3 former deputy jailers at an eastern Kentucky facility have been sentenced to prison in connection with the death of an inmate. So in Boyd County Circuit Judge George Davis announced the sentences on Thursday for Zachary Messer, Colton Griffith, and Jeremy Maddox. And by the way, there was actually 5 involved here. But the other 2 made agreements, took a plea basically. But they were among the 5 former deputies indicted following the November 2018 death of 40-year-old Michael L. Moore, who was found in a restraint chair at the jail. Authorities have said that Moore was intoxicated and the deputies intentionally abused him or knowingly permitted his abuse, and that mistreatment caused Moore's death. The video's hard to watch. The video is hard to watch because, like, dude, this comes down to another one of those public servants things. You know what I mean? Where public servants are held to a higher standard. And that standard is should be scrutinized by the rest of public and society.
Yes.
And when you have somebody come in your jail for just a public intoxication, which is what this was, then you should be able to be more understanding. You're the bigger person. You're the law enforcement officer. You're the one that's there to keep things in order, you know? And these guys didn't do that. Like when they first came in and they were getting his cell ready and everything, one of the bigger dudes forces his head against the wall into a corner and shoves his face into it and holds his hand there. Like, you guys, I've done overnights in jail for public intoxication and just being dumb when I was younger. I've never seen that. Never had that happen to me. I've seen
never
that.
had that happen either.
No, that's not standard. You are not expected to put your head against the wall in a corner and have a security guard hold their whole weight on it. And when he tried to pull it away, because obviously it's uncomfortable and he's intoxicated, the guy literally bam, bashes his head back into the wall. When he dies, his eyes is all blown up and everything, and he ends up getting thrown into the restraint chair when, to me, it doesn't look like he's being combative. To me, it looks like he's just trying to defend himself and, like, not get hurt. And these guys keep going. What ends up killing him is they throw him into, you know, the hard metal sinks that are in jail?
What do you mean, like on the back of the toilets?
Like, so the sinks in jail are one single metal unit so that nothing can be taken apart. It looks like sheet metal from wall to wall. Well, they're heavy duty things so that prisoners can't pull off any of the pieces and create shanks, things like that. Well, they threw him into it, breaking 3 ribs, causing internal bleeding. Now, when you're intoxicated on alcohol, your blood's thinner, and he bleeds internally to death. These guys beat him to death. These 5 security officers beat him to death.
Wait, they weren't police?
They were not police officers. They're jailhouse deputies, is my understanding. Yeah, deputy jailers. Yep. They are not police officers. So
I feel like there's this ego that officers get, okay, deputies in jail. They detach themselves from the inmates. They don't see them as, like, a human. You know what I mean? Like, as a neighbor or something. Like, someone that they actually give significance to. They see them as subhuman, scum of the earth, and they get this... I'm having trouble even describing the feeling, but I know what it feels like to have that feeling of, like, intense rage over something that you think you are above. Yeah. It is a certain feeling, and it's an abuse of power, obviously. But there's a feeling that comes with that that's completely impulsive. Mm-hmm. It is entirely impulsive.
Yeah.
There isn't a lot of thought there other than anger and wanting to control this person and hurt them.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking with there being 5 of them that there was some kind of mob mentality, that mass psychosis
That
going
too.
on, and you get.
It's a good point.
I think it was 1 woman and 4 men. You get 4 men together.
A woman was involved in beating him to death?
When I was looking up the actual jailers, because this only talks about 3 out of the 5, it kept showing 1 woman. So I believe so. I'll verify it with the pictures on here as we're going through it. But yes, I believe so. Now, what sucks is one of the jailers was not comfortable with this and said on 3 different occasions that we need to get him help. We should call someone. And his direct contact, the one above him, his sergeant or whatever, told him, fall in line. You're not calling anybody. Yeah, and then when one guy threw him into the chair, you can see one of the guys, like, quickly go to help him up. I'm assuming that's the same guy who's showing, like, empathy, like, oh, let's get him, while the other 4 people stood there. It is wild. It is just it's a complete power-hungry exchange in this video. And I'm not going to show it just because it is disturbing, but I'll be posting pictures as we're going through this. I just thought it is crazy how many times we see this abuse of power happening, and we have theorized over and over and over, what's it going to take and what can we do to reduce this?
Well, for one, I think it's treating inmates in general more like human beings.
Agreed.
It's a societal view we have of, like, criminals, drug addicts,
Agreed.
you know, people with mental health issues. Like, literally every single person that is in jail has a mental health issue. I guarantee you there is not a single one, unless they are entirely innocent.
Yeah, that's
and
what,
in there,
yep.
like,
A
for
mischarged person.
mischarged,
Yep,
innocent
yep.
person that does, and by the time they get out of jail, they're probably going to have mental health
trauma,
problems.
I know.
Because jails treat the humans in there like animals.
Yeah.
Straight up. They don't
Yep.
get adequate health care. I mean, they don't get healthy food, you know, which is a big deal. Like, the way nutrition is really important for how our brains function and how we
Nutrition's
feel.
expensive,
And
though, that's why.
I know. And they treat them like animals. They ain't gonna spend money on the good food for the animals.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And everybody's got a number. They don't refer to people by their names usually. And I just feel like other prison systems around the world work much better than our own and are actually aimed at taking criminals and turning them into better citizens. And
Jail
ours
should
is
be a
not.
rehab.
That was supposedly the intention, but really the basis of our prison institution, okay, our prison industrial complex, basically,
Right.
is... It started because of slaves. The privately owned prisons started as slave owners trying to get their slaves back to work for them by charging them with things and then making them come serve their sentence working. It was prison work camps. That's how it started.
Yeah, that's interesting.
The basis of our prison system is literally rooted in slavery. We got to change that.
Yeah.
Like, and then there came this wave of, like, rehabilitating criminals, but we didn't really succeed at it because all along the basis was creating slaves.
Yep. Control and remove from society instead of remove from society, rehabilitate to
And then
re-enter society. Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree with you. I just think that we've got to come up with something to reduce these things from happening, especially in a situation where you have 5 people here doing this one thing. 5 people doing this one thing. You know what I mean?
Do they have to wear body cams, the deputies in
This
there?
video footage isn't body cam, so I don't know.
Okay, so probably not because there's security camera footage there's security cameras. But I feel like clearly they should have some kind of better training of what to do in a situation where your coworker is being abusive.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, they need to have those trainings because it's, like, we've seen it time and time again. It is happening, and it's happening every day.
Yeah.
So they need to have training on how other people should navigate that, how managers or whoever the hires up should be navigating that situation. Mm-hmm. It absolutely should be being reported. And this whole thing, I've heard that in many of these cases where they went to a higher up, one of the officers that didn't feel right, or deputies or whatever, and they're like, nope, you're not telling anybody.
Yeah. I've wondered, so body cam is huge, okay? I think anybody that's a public servant should be on video at all times if they're clocked in. At all times. Only if going to the restroom, you turn off like the video or something like that, because that will save the public, that will reduce these issues. And honestly, even the people wearing the body cam won't like it, but it could save them. It could make them be, more secure with their decisions and making sure that they can't let their emotions get out of check in a way that will make them have to serve time. Like all these guys are going to jail for 10 to 20, maybe 30 years. Okay. Now, in a situation like that, you got to have someone that's going to be able to hold them accountable that doesn't associate with them. So can we create a system where, you have New York cops that have all their body cam footage, there's cameras everywhere, so you're never not on video, and then you have people in Nevada or Arizona watching them. So if they get in trouble for doing something criminal, the people who watch them and hold that group accountable that doesn't talk, they do not talk to each other ever, they're both in trouble. That is a group accountability situation, and I feel like something like that could work.
I do too. And see, the worst thing about this is I've seen several situations. I've seen one other case that's coming to mind particularly with the security camera footage in these places. This came out because somebody wanted it to.
Yeah.
In most of the situations, they just hide it. They just delete it.
That's why I think a secondary person watching it would be a good idea.
Exactly.
That doesn't communicate.
Nobody who works in that jail or prison or
manages
office
this footage
can manage it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Exactly. I think that would reduce everything. And all the officers would despise it, but you know what? Accountability doesn't feel good ever, but it is a good thing, and it keeps everybody safe. So I agree.
Because now you're going down for murder.
Yep. You're going down for murder. And but I'm curious what you guys think. Like, these guys are getting in the double digits of assault charges. So
good.
Yeah.
It's disgusting, and
a public intoxication and you lose your life,
I know.
Man, and it sounds like this guy didn't have his life put together.
That doesn't
and
matter.
That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter at all.
They stripped him of the choice and ability to get his life turned around if he ever did get it turned around. Even if he was annoying, even if he was coming in once a week because he's a drunk, all of these things, none of those are reasons to end him in the way that you guys did with the abusive ways that you guys did it.
There's just no reason to abuse an inmate ever, even if they're the worst person on the planet.
No.
You taking that justice, anger, whatever you're trying to take into your hands is not worth it for anybody.
Yep, I agree.
You're literally making everything worse.
Yep.
All the way around.
Yep. But let us know what you guys think.
Yeah.
Let those thoughts riot in the comments below.
Okay, so